I see these three traps that agencies fall into when they embark on competitive analyses. Hey there, it's Jody Sutter of the Sutter Company, and it's Just Ask Jody. It's that time when I take a question from an agency around an issue they're having with business development, and I'll answer that question in 4 minutes or less. And today the question comes from an agency that's about to undergo a repositioning exercise, and they're asking, should we do a competitive analysis as part of that exercise? So the short answer is that I am not a big fan of competitive analyses, at least agencies doing competitive analyses. And I have three specific reasons why. Before I go into those, though, I'm not saying that it's not a great idea to have a firm sense of where you sit in the marketplace and what's happening, and to be aware of what's happening in the marketplace. But I see these three traps that agencies fall into when they embark on these competitive analyses. The first is if the agency doesn't have a strong sense of their niche, the more generalized their positioning is. Now, granted, they're about to go through this positioning strategy, so hopefully they'll get a little more narrow. But in general, if you don't have a strong sense of where you're operating, then it's almost impossible to define a succinct criteria list for who should be on that competitive list, which means that that list is constantly shifting and changing. So already at the start, you've set yourself up with this unwieldy challenge. Who should go on this competitor list? That also leads us to the second trap, which is sometimes the answer to that question of who should we put on this competitor list is like, let's just keep adding more. So it's not unusual the rare times that I've worked with an agency on a competitive analysis, it's not unusual for an agency to come to me with 30 other competitors. That's an unwieldy list. It takes a lot of time to thoughtfully look at what 30 other agencies are doing in relationship to what you're doing. I'm not saying that valuable insights don't come out of that analysis, but the problem is it takes so much time, and it is time that is taken away from what I think is the more important work, which is more self-reflective, which is often more challenging, though, this work to look at what your positioning should be, not based on what your competitors are doing, but based on what your strengths are, where the vision for your agency, the solution that you provide, the problems and the challenges in the marketplace that you are masters at solving. The third trap that I see agencies falling into with these competitive analyses is that they become overly inspired, let's say, by what they see their competitors doing. And that comes at a cost of not doing the important internal work of defining a positioning around your strengths, your internal capabilities, your culture, your ideas, your approach. So then the competitive analysis becomes kind of a self-defeating exercise, because rather than carving off an area that you as the agency can own, you end up being overly influenced by what others are doing, and maybe even copying the stuff that you like best. So those are the three traps that I think agencies consistently fall into when they do these competitive analyses. If you can be aware of the traps and you still think that a competitive analysis is important, then go for it. But if you think that you're going to be more productive by looking, as I said, looking internally at where your strengths lie and what you offer the marketplace, then maybe start there first and don't get yourself bogged down. That's it for this Just Ask Jody. If you've got a question you'd like me to answer on another Just Ask Jody in the future, you can email me at jody@thesuttercompany.com, and I'll see you next time.